He said, you know, these scholars need to begin to focus on building the person and putting the person before the building. Because sometimes a big building gives you a false sense of achievement. But when you focus on quality of people, this is the prophetic tradition. This is what matters. Just look around you today, what's going on in the society, in the community. Again, I'm quoting my brother McConnell. He said it, I love it when he says, it's out of order. It's out of order. And that's what's going on, it's out of order. Okay? So, I'm happy to announce to you, and I'm really promising you I'm going to be quiet soon. We have a $1,000 anonymous donation, and then we have another $2,500. So we got 14,000. We have 14,000, so we are getting very close. The $9,000 short of our goal. 11. We're 11,000 short of our goal. So inshallah, I have to inshallah. I'll tell you in a minute, I'm mad as hard. But inshallah, so we're looking for a few more people, $500. Show of hands, Mr. Faria. And two where? Ready to say where? Ready, family? In the back. Oh, back there, yes. Okay, we have 1, 2. Somebody keeping up with that? Okay. You? Brother, right? 2, yes, 2 at this table. Somebody get this? That's 5. Just with the finger up, that's 6. That's 6. That's 7. Down. 7. 7. 8. I love it when you remember. Inspired. Well, it's a very important thing. These are some of the people that are raised in the This is my 9. My wedding people, my other family, you know, they have young people that are making a contribution. 9. Now everybody remember, this is the give part. The pledges, inshallah, if you find it in your heart to give whatever you give, you can afford. We appreciate everything. Okay, so on your table, we have the gift cards. Okay, and on the back of the gift card, there's another option, another way for you to give a gift card. We have the continuous donor. And what that is we're asking people to commit to giving us $5 a month, $20 a month. You can do more if you would like, but $5 a month. And what we're looking for is community support to help us help our students. We want our students to excel. We don't want to shortchange our students. And our staff, under the leadership of Dr. Islam and our teachers, they work tirelessly, trust me, tirelessly. And we are grateful to Allah to have people that are hanging in there with us. But it's not easy. I want to close with that. It is not easy. It's not easy. It's not what people think it is. It's a very difficult, it's a rewarding charge, but it's a very difficult charge. Because you feel the weight of the trust of the parent that drives off and they leave their kid in your care. That's a weight that we carry. We try to honor it. So I want to thank everyone for your generosity this evening. Anyone else that would like to make a contribution and give a gift, as I mentioned, we have the cards on the table. And we will be very grateful. We will pray for you. We ask Allah to reward you and we ask for His blessings to be showered upon you and your families. Okay? Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. So we're not to our goal yet. We're almost getting there. So help us along a little bit.
No, I think he just
got something to get to.
Yeah.
Earlier we had poetry in motion with the Chuck Kung Fu. Now we have a little poetry and words. cousin brothers. I won't brother them, but I'll give them a background.
This is what it was originally.
We have brother Anwar Jabali. He comes to us from Atlanta, and is ranked nationally and internationally as one of the top 5 Greek poets, and he recently took his Shahada. Alhamdulillah. Then we have brother Seth El Afriki, Philadelphia's Yusuf Koma, also known as Seth El Afriki. So Yusuf Koma and Seth are the same person. He's a writer. He's an 8th-year artist. He's a student, a teacher, an activist. He's an entrepreneur. He has shared the stage with various celebrities of the spoken word and the rap word, such as Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, Eve, Black Thought, Suni Patterson, Common, Talib Kweli, Farnsworth Bentley, Umar bin Hassan of The Last Poets, Amir Suleiman, Talim Asi, Black Ice, and many others. Seth has obtained success in his craft and continues to excel in academics. Seth is a student of criminal justice with a 4.0 GPA. Let's give it up for that. He is the founder of the poetry collective Skitson and an active member of PYPM, which stands for Philadelphia Youth Poetry Movement, Peace and Love, and Poetry in Motion. He has made appearances on BET, CNN's Black in America, Clear Channel, HBO's Brave New Voices, and many more. So without further ado, to get everybody a little more motivated to get some more money, I'm going to ask those brothers to come here and give us a little poetry.
Assalamu alaikum. Before I step off the stage, inshallah, I feel like at home, I want to connect, inshallah, on time. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah alameen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in wa man taba'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. I want to start with the name of Allah, because Allah has truly blessed me, my brother. This is Anwar. Wallahi, it makes me want to cry to sit here, you know, at 22 years old, to sit at the panel with some of these, you know, people that have left such an impact on Philadelphia, and to sit here and to be an honorary. You know, it's strange to me, and I feel like I'm looking at you guys, I'm looking at the butterfly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in my life. So, you know, I want to thank you guys for recognizing someone as me, you know, from a young age, and bringing me in. So, alhamdulillah, Imam Anwar, like I said, even though I don't know him, he supports me from a distance. And you can tell when someone loves you, you know, by the way they treat you. So even from a distance, he shows me support. So good job, brother. You're doing a good job, inshallah. Keep going. You know, so I can only imagine if I was with him every day, the type of love and influence he would have in my life. But I appreciate you, brother. So I want to share some poetry. My name is Yusuf. Artist name is Seth Al Afriki. I'm from West Africa. My father's from Guinea, my mother's from Liberia. And they came to this country because of the Civil War, to find a better life for our family, and, you know, better education. So, you know, I'm the product, I'm the fruits of their labor. They work hard to see the sun. Right now I'm at LaSalle University, pre-law, 4.0 GPA, and I'm looking to either go to law school or definitely be a PhD there at that time. So, I picked up poetry as a way to express myself, because living in Philadelphia is you know, people express themselves in different ways. Some people fight, some people sell drugs, you know, different means of expressing themselves. So I picked up the gift of the pen, and actually it's a part of my culture, with the griots and the jittas, storytellers and things like that. So I picked it up, and I ran with it. And wallahi, Allah's been giving me tawfiq ever since. So I'm gonna share some pieces with you today, and me and my brother. I was in the class a few years ago. I was in a religion class in college. And the first thing they told me on the first day was, when you enter this room, there's no such thing as religion. Whatever religion you have, forget about it. You know, so they started to break down Socrates and Plato, you know, intellectualism. But they said God doesn't exist in this classroom. So immediately in the first week, we had like 10 people who dropped the class. So I decided to stick in there. I said, you know, I'm happy, man. I have, you know, faith in Allah. I'll be all right. So, toward the classes going on, I was the only Muslim in the class. There was actually one guy, Muslim, his name is Ilyas, but he changed his name to Illy, right, in the classroom. And I have a friend named Illy, made me think about him. So he changed his name, he didn't let anybody know he was Muslim. Another guy named Muhammad, he called himself Mo. So it's 3 of us in the classroom. So we're sitting there, and they're going over, talking about religion, things like that, and why God doesn't exist. So when it came time for my presentation, I gave a spoken word presentation in the classroom, and I changed it to speech between the speech and poetry, and this was it. So these, I'm sitting, they think they're intellectuals and things like that. They put me on stage, that's what I got. I got something for them. I went home and I wrote it. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I put my faith in my mouth, said this will be that, and I went. I said, all praise due to the one by which the sun was raised. All praise due to the one by which no sun was raised. We said, Alhamdulillah, for the sun's rays that brought the darkness to light, the truth to the light, that the evil astray and the pious to right. However, to be truthful, the sun's rays have led some astray, like those who only worship God while the eyes watch, and the sun's rays to think that God only exists on Sundays. Sunday, a day where Egyptians worship the sun god Ra, but why when the raiser of the sun god said La ilaha illallah, told man not to worship Ra, but rather Rahman. It's something I don't understand. The ability of man to change the favors of his Lord and absorb sins on the mizan. Which favors of your Lord will you deny? The raising of the sun are the raisins of the sun. Minute you are to God as raisins in the sun, but you still find ways to degrade them the sun. Yeah, I really be laughing that it. The eggs in the basket, Catholic priests in the closet, confessing sins to soothsayers and magic, voodoo dust in the cabinet, molar tooth of a lion, the collarbone of a rabbit, rip the hair from your scalp, burn your soul in the acid with blasphemous habits caught in a pattern of your forefathers, the blind leading the blind, Buddha warning the gluttony, Confucius confusing the masses, drunken monks speaking in tongues, pastors speaking in tongues, people tongue twisted praying riddles as palms, open palms and descending prayers like a Hail Mary for Hail's Mary, Mary the mother of the Son, Father, and Spirit. Make up your mind. Is it his Father or our Father who art in heaven? Hallowed be thy name. Hallowed be the brains of those who chop and screwed and misconstrue these verses. 1,000 years of curses when you bear witness to this name. When your halos become chains, the fact will still remain that there's only one God by which the sun was raised. There's only one God by which no sun was raised. We said, Alhamdulillah, for the sun's rays that brought the darkness to light, the truth to the light, let the evil astray and the pious to right. In his name I write, Ameen. Alhamdulillah, I got an A minus. A minus, inshallah. And from that day on, I was one of the most respected students. It was an honors program. They wrote me a recommendations letter out of the kazoo. Alhamdulillah, they respected it, and from that point on, the Muslims started to stick up, and we had debates and things like that. It was a beautiful thing, inshallah. So that's what happens when you stand up. So I'm going to pass the mic to my brother, and he's going to be humble. He's not going to tell you about this. We're from the Philadelphia Youth Poetry Movement, and Anwar, in 2010, ranked #1 in the world in the Youth Poetry Movement. #1 in the world. And in the following year, we competed, I ranked #1 and he ranked #2. Alright? So that's my young boy. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. Just before I get into my poem, I just want to say what a blessing it is to be here right now. Seth talks about looking at all you guys and just seeing Monica, and me being a new convert, just being up here with him, the Qaafilah is just rubbing off on me. You surround yourself with greatness and you see what comes from it. So, I go to school at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a sophomore psychology major. I was freshman of the year. I got to give a lot of great speeches for a lot of great people when I was out there this year. And, I just come back home to surrounded by royalty. I was just telling my friend on the phone, what are you doing? I'm at a banquet. I'm just looking at all these people, and everybody looks so royal, So, this is what I owe first to Allah, and first, second of all to my community. I saw the extinction of our city in a dream once. A revelation where death crept up on us. I witnessed carbon monoxide asphyxiate the atmosphere and slit the ozone's throat. Our skyline obliterated and Willie Penn wept atop City Hall. God made me watch our people ripple through the streets like stilled water. Sunk umbra sifting through polluted air for oxygen. Toxic fumes from public transportation grew lusty. It kissed our kidneys and left hickeys on our lungs. Philadelphia, you loved it. To the souls of North Philly, I've seen you all beg on your knees, unrecycled hearts oozing garbage truck juice and plastic bags bonding your ankles together in harmony. I heard the crumpled moans of the youth reverberate down the city blocks. Exhaled mist precipitated from the eyes of parents, shredding at the permafrost tears rolling from their pupils, cracking ice, entire buildings, projects, apartment complexes down Broad Street and Market Street corrupt like a disrupted ice shelf to the women of West Philadelphia. I then saw your morality decayed and your crowds decompose, since seeds these queens have only known the kind of love that is wet, like acid rain or acerbic dewdrops. Maladroit but beautiful creatures left to rot in waste buckets everywhere. Then God showed me the concrete cruelties of Southwest Philly, 65th and Woodland, 67th and Elwood, Lancaster Ave, Cobbs Creek Parkway, where dead bodies float like sea ice. Al-Hakim, illustrate the plague of South Philly for me again. Repeat the sight of those crooked cops at all 4 points of our homeland, with the sea level rising under their tongues, confirming the viciousness they called the name of every delinquent and carnivorous gangster. I was forced to watch you drift like soot and aerosol to each of them and receive a headshot. Philadelphia, you loved it. You forgot what you stood for. You forgot what you thrived for. You forgot how to flourish. You forgot your hearts, because then God showed me that under your left breastplates was the city morgue. I didn't want to believe it. I dug deeper, still no hearts. Just an office of tag toes thumping the inside of the desk drawers. Dug deeper, just decrepit specters filed under statistic teams that long for forgiveness. Raheem, I think you left the microwave on a bit too long. My city has been roasting for a rescue from our contamination. Absolve us. Wash our filthy hands and cleanse our mucky minds. Mitigate the truculence of my community. How many prayers must I send up before you rinse my settlement? You give me a number and I'll get my eyes fixed and my arms folded at whatever the cost. Please, Lord, hear me. We're all waiting for you to make us beautiful. Thank you.
That boy good, right? Inshallah. And it's funny to me that when I met him, his name was Anwar Jabbar, so I automatically thought he was a Muslim, but he wasn't. Somehow his parents named him Anwar Jabbar Johnson, right? And he wasn't Muslim. I said, well, Allah had in his plan for him, right? So when I met him, didn't even have to give him dawah or nothing like that. I just stayed around him, and I made dua for him every day. We used to pray for him, whether he knew it or not. We used to pray for him, oh Allah, please God. Because you're the only one that can God. He was Atlanta. He called me, said, I'm going to the masjid. It's a couple miles away. I'm going to walk. I'm going to take my shot. He did.
Allahu Akbar.
Inshallah. Okay, so I travel around and do like workshops in the city of Philadelphia, and I go to different schools. Recently, I went to a school called Wagner Elementary. And when I walked into school, the first thing I saw was in 2004, this school made academic progression. I said, wait a minute, it's 2012. I said, guys, we need to fix that sign. They said, no, that sign is accurate, correct. We're proud of that. So what about now? They haven't made academic progression since 2004, right? And the school is predominantly Muslim men, young Muslim boys and Muslim sisters. So they're not learning anything, they're losing. Even the way they speak, you know, so I went with a group of my LaSalle students and like, those kids are ignorant. They don't know anything. Look how they talk, they're rude. So, you know, I'm looking at how the outside world look at us as ignorant and inferior, and it really hurt me. And on top of that, when I got there, the boys were really hyper aggressive and hyper masculine. Oh, what you gonna tell us, college boy? You're not from the hood. What you know? So they had the option of keeping me for the program or telling the administration that they didn't want me there anymore. So I said, guys, give me a chance to let me, you know, give you a little wisdom, and then, you know, you can decide whether or not. They said no. First day I didn't get nowhere. The second day, they gave me a hard time again. I said, okay, I got something. Because I came in a hoodie the second day, said, oh, you want to be down now? I said, okay, cool. I said, tomorrow when I come back on the third day, I'll have a presentation for you guys. If you guys don't like me, I said, I promise I will never come back to the school again. But at least give me the time to say what I had to say. They said, all right, over here, whatever. So I got there the third day, and I said this morning, this is done. Black boys born beneath the sunlight scorn, skin torn, tattered and tatted up, war paint plastered up from ankle to Adam's apple, what? Black boy always in battle, what? Black boy always on the brink of death because death is the only finish line in this race of black boys, what? Black boy needing every race besides human. Black boy always be assuming, never comprehending what black boy, ain't you always winning? Ain't you massaging all these women into misogyny? Don't you refer to all your partners and murder victims as bodies? What? Black boy must be depressed, because the only few black boys left are sick and dying. Black boy is sick of being sick and dying, but the black boy remedy is a pill to cactus to swallow, swell up in your windpipe. A black boy blow weed, wind like to ease the burden. Black boy back don't know no break, only burden. Black boy get high to leave the ghetto and dwell suburban. Black boy get high to escape. Black boy take shots to get wasted, to the makeshift, to the day shift, and the waist lift and gunshots leave all the black boys wasted. Spilled crimson on the concrete basin of black blood, black Bloods and Crips banging beneath the gun blue sky. By God, black boy ain't no stranger to the cemetery. I say by God, black boy ain't no foreigner to morgue. Rest assured, black boy can't beat death, can't abolish slavery in this new context. Black boy too complex, cause black girl big, because his mother a queen. Black boy ain't never seen no father figure, so black boy figures he's a queen. And scientists swear there's a defect in our genes, hanging off our butt, like it isn't already hard enough to walk. Says nigga every other word, like it isn't already hard enough to talk. For black boy be vulgar, black boy be ignorant, black boy be belligerent, black boy be everything besides innocent in a court of law. Where everybody gets freedom, black boy gets life. He said, I'm just looking for a savior, but I ain't got no savior, my own complexion. Black boy destined for doom. Black boy don't believe in God, only worship at Odom. Too black to raise a sun, but dark enough to hold the moon. Too black to fill an app, but dark enough to fill a tomb. I say, oh. I say, wait a minute, black boy. I say, by Allah, you are beautiful. Chiseled from the sturdiest of mountains, black boy, you are a fountain to wash away their woes. But the black boy knows not of his own power and its realness, the revolution's last resilience. I say, black boy, you are brilliant. You are Malcolm X, you are Frederick D, you are W.E.B. Du Bois. Black boy, you are everything they're afraid of. So they enslave us to our own black complex. I say, black boy, you are too complex to understand. But you are the origin of man. I say, you are the origin of man. You are the origin of man, and in the absence of life, the universe is planned. Black boy. He's like, oh, hey, you killed it. Kick some more of those raps. I said, oh, I still ain't learned. Alhamdulillah, but they invited me back for the next 2 years. So inshallah, so that's what we do. We just try to go around and give light to them, you know, in a language that they understand. Because not everybody can go in front of these youth, and the youth are our future. So we need people amongst them. Barakallah speak to the older brothers, but we need people from amongst us running these functions. We need the youth, and we need people that can speak to them in a language they understand. Because a lot of times the older folks don't really know. The schools is like a war zone. Wallahi, I don't understand how an individual fighting for his life as well as trying to, you know, get some knowledge at the same time. It's different. It's hard for them. That's why you see them, they put tattoos on their faces, because it's like war paint. They're going to war. A lot of things you have to understand psychology behind it. But being in that time, we're getting it.
It's funny that Seth brought that up, because I grew up with a doll named Aaron James until I was about 5 years old. And I remember when I was ready to throw it away, I asked my mom, like, why did y'all name this doll that? It was like, oh, because at first we named the doll Anwar, and we were going to name you Aaron. But so, like, what? But alhamdulillah, that's how the inspiration happened. So, but I was reflecting with my friend on this whole Sandy Hook incident that happened, along with the Dark Knight Rises incident that happened where a man just shot up all those people. And yeah, asked me, maybe terrible things like this need to happen in order to keep balance, in order to bring, future reform. And that's a scary thing, but it's indeed true, because you don't know what type of good can come out of any type of evil. So this poem was just me reflecting on exactly what he just said to me. A jagged blade of sunrise paired my eyes wide this morning. I longed for the terror of my sleep to console me. I'll go with anyone, do anything, run anywhere but reality. This house is not a home. This world is not a globe, no, it is a Rubik's pyramid compiled of spheres with all the same color stickers. The deeper I think, the deeper I seem to sink. I try to drown myself in the sink. The faucet water runs anywhere but reality. We all perceive on plateaus, but I guess this is what society seems like after your intellect has jumped. See, they want us all red. Read the barcode on your tongue. Check the microchip in your knee. The transmitter on your lung goes off anytime you mention imagination. They want to know, they know that your intellect is jumped, but they control how hard you'll plummet. See, they want us all red. Any blood spilled but theirs, huh? The government wants so much more than your mind and your money. They want us to keep our minds on our money while they keep their minds in our money. They got their eye on our money so they can mind our business. Cash rules everything around us because this world is a business. And we all know how corrupt that world is. How putrid, crustaceous, reptilious, and acidic and poisonous those people can get. But I tell you right now that my bottom lip is a landmine. And my mouth has been closed for far too long. It's shots to be fired, I just don't know who I'm shooting at. Enemies are cool, but loved ones will hate you. So just tell my wife, hanging in our closet, that she is a succubus with a clock for a face. And I'll go anywhere, do anyone, run anywhere but reality. They say G-O-D. Government over democracy. And in God we trust. But this God, this nation ain't dependable. A black president doesn't mean anything. That's just a white country with a black face. And I don't mean a black face, I mean black face. I mean Sambo, I mean Zipcoon, I mean, maybe it's just that American culture and governmental control is a punk with 3 stomachs that has X-ray vision and wrote The Matrix. And that his father is half Einstein and part Adolf. And you know what? When he's not watching the cameras to the asylum, I'm overdosing on Anor and Al-Baqarah. You let the government make medical decisions, and in essence, they own your body. Take the mind, take the body. But you'll never harness the spirit. You'll never take me alive.
Alhamdulillah, that's our time. Inshallah, we'll be here. We have a few DVDs. I miscalculated how many people will be here today, so we brought a few. We have some cards and things like that. Keep in touch with them and if you have some youth, man, some young people who's interested in writing poetry, every Saturday we host writing workshops from 12 to 3 at the Science Leadership Academy. So we're trying to cultivate the youth and have people that's articulate, well-spoken, well-educated in Islam and in the academic world, and that's very presentable. So mashallah, that's our goal, that's our job. If we have sons, even they have some really nice, writers, but they don't have too many, the Science Leadership Academy is on 22nd and Arch. Yeah, and also we went to a competition in Denver, and there was a Muslim sister who finished this year, who finished #1 in the world from Denver. Inshallah, her sister was bad. So we're trying to cultivate, all across the board, just like we're trying to educate them. Islamically, academically, we're supposed to be the best in everything we do. So that's our goal, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum.
It was bad, man. That was nice. That was good poetry. I have no poetry myself. I'm not here.
The silent auction
is over at 8:30 in the lobby.
They inspire me. We have some student awards for the children of Cuba Institute that will be given out by Ma'am Ennis. Yeah, there's a few students who want to recognize. I would say their names now, but I don't know if it's a surprise. One is a female, and one is a male. Unanimous.
Okay, we would like to recognize two students. First is Anaya Sabir. Anaya is a kindergarten student at the Institute, one of the citywide fire prevention postal contest. Her name and the second student is Brother Faiz Muhammad, who won the Nathaniel Severe Scholarship Fund Essay Contest award. And Faiz actually congratulations, Faiz. I believe at this time, the next award that we have is not student related, but actually it's the Chef Nafra Muhammad Top Award. This year's awardee is not local. Actually, he's in Detroit. His name is Amin. And inshallah, will be joining us via Skype. Inshallah, so I'm going to read his bio, and hopefully at some point he will join us. Haroun studied in Casablanca, Morocco for 6 years. Memorized the Quran, learned to read, write, and speak classical Arabic. He has taught in the Muslim community of western suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, the Michigan Islamic Academy in Ann Arbor, at Masjid Toba in Ann Arbor, and the Yankee, Michigan, and in the Muslim Community Center of Detroit, Michigan. He recorded the entire Quran on CD. He was the newly elected chair of the Dawah Committee in the Islamic Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan. He was the director and founder of the Amriki Institute. This institute has 126 students throughout the state of Michigan. He is the director of the Amriki Healing Center, specializing in exorcism and prophetic medicine. He's the official fundraiser for Relief for Africa, which sends aid to places in need within the Northern African continent. Brother Haroun is also the Michigan representative for the Halal Business, which is a network of halal businesses and people that pull together in order to assist local Islamic school funds and to provide financial aid for students who cannot afford Islamic school. Brother Haroun is also the rotating khatib for various masajid in the state of Michigan and does tarawih at various masajid. He was also the guest speaker for the webinar, Mercy for Mankind. He is currently working on the following projects. 1, Tashkil project. This is a project that inshallah will be ready by fall 2014, a private Islamic school for indigenous people in need. 2, a new Amriki Healing Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota by March 2013. A new recording of Quran modes Hafs and Warsh, and 4, an English audio of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and 5, the Amriki Summer Camp advanced Arabic courses throughout the summer scheduled to open in July of 2013. Now, I'm not responsible for the technology this evening, so I'm done with the bio, and I'm looking behind me and I don't see anything. So I'm hoping at some point, inshallah, my man a few words, so we're looking forward to it. We have no video. Okay, so what we're going to do, we are having technical difficulties. We're going to move on to the next award, inshallah, and then we'll come back, inshallah. I would like to personally recognize a couple of our sponsors, inshallah. One is an anonymous donor who donated $5,000 to our education fund. And the other two, I believe, were bronze donors, and these are people who donated $2,000 or less. And I have two people who I would like to recognize. The first is Brother Sayyid Amazuki from the Reading Islamic Center. We have to go through it. Come on, man. Okay, next person that we would like to recognize is Brother Hamid Chowdhury, also from the Islamic Center of Reading. And receiving on his behalf is Brother Sayyid. And with that, we've recognized our sponsors. The rest of our sponsors are listed in our program book. Again, I would like to thank all of you who have donated this evening and have helped make this evening a success, inshallah. I'd like to bring back
once again, we'll announce that the silent auction is still going on in the lobby. It ends at 8:30. I think we have somebody.
As I said earlier, technical difficulties again this evening, so you have Qaafilah and on speakerphone from Detroit, Michigan. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. And we would like to recognize you for one, completion of the memorization of the Holy Quran by awarding you the Sheikh Nafi Mohammed Qaafilah Award 2012, and for the excellent work that you're doing in the community there in Michigan. I'm going to read the award to you, inshallah, and we'll present it to you, inshallah.
Said Barakallah Feekum twice. There was a short pause and said it again.
Okay. So the award reads the Sheikh Nafi Mohammed Award presented to His 30th day of December 2012. Again presented to you by Buddha Incorporated. Congratulations.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Cuba has their free spring classes that will be starting in the spring. The classes will include Arabic, Malic Fiqh, Tajweed, Islam 101. You can see more information at CubaInc.org to register. Now we're going to move on to our big awards for our big name individuals who are known by all. Those awards will be handed out by another big presenter, someone you might have heard about in the community. He's a sheikh. He's also a CEO of a great institution called Qaafilah Incorporated. They have fundraisers where they ask you to donate money. We're still asking for more money. We have not reached our goal completely, but we are, inshallah, trying to get there by the end of the evening. We gave you Seth, he killed it. Then we came back to Anwar, we didn't know what he was going to come with, he killed it even more. Then Seth came back, one up him, and Anwar came back, and kind of evened it up. So it's tied right now. Inshallah, at the end, while everybody's filing out, they can battle, and we can see who's better. Before that, we're going to have Sheikh Anwar come up and announce the awards for our distinguished and honored guests up here on the stage. Minus myself, I'm not distinguished or honored. I'm the same stuff. I appreciate that.
I asked also to do this presentation of the awards. Some of our honorees tonight have very extensive bios, so I'm going to try to condense some of the bios as much as possible because there's so much. And when I was reading the bios are reflective of people who have made a lifetime commitment to service. And this is a fundamental part of our religion, that service it's a natural influence. And I want to really also, before I begin, take a moment to just all good, Tawfiq, may you grow as big as you want. Okay, I want to start with Sister Hajja Intisar. Okay, Hajja Intisar, if we turn to page 6, her bio says many things. But I think that, and Brother Seth said it very eloquently about, preparing the youth. And then after you prepare them, to push them forward. And this is something that Sister Intisar has been doing quite some time in the community. Through her organization, PALMS, which is an acronym for Qa'id Amir Abdul Majid Stadium Hajj Foundation. The sister, may Allah bless her, for every prayer that has been made in Mecca, because she sends young people to Hajj. Young kids out of high school, and like Brother Seth said, it's two different worlds. They go from the battle zone, as he described it, to Hajj. And I've talked to some of these young people that have had this blessing. And it's an amazing, life-transforming experience. And when I think about it, I pray for the sister. And so when we're sitting around brainstorming about who we want to honor and recognize, because tonight is not just a fun night. Tonight is a celebration of our community, because we're from the community. We serve the community, and we love the community. And we love the people who do the work to help our community grow and develop, so that, brothers like Seth and Anwar don't have to, and other sisters and brothers, young people don't have to start from scratch. Figuring it out and say, where do I start? There will be a foundation. There will be a foundation. So Sister Intisar, as I mentioned, is the executive director of PALMS. And she started this organization, and PALMS was inspired by a group of youth and young adults who were comrades of her late son, Qaaid, Allah have mercy on him. And Qaaid's character was that of love, peace, and affection. To fulfill one of Lai's aspirations, Quam's finances youth pilgrimage, affording them the opportunity to fulfill their obligation of the fifth pillar of Islam, Hajj. Quam's Hajj Foundation also focuses on and provides spiritual, educational, cultural, and recreational and mentoring programs. Quam's advocates peace. Quam's activities are designed by youth with youth in mind. In 2010, Quam's added to its services an intake and referral component, along with a support group for sisters who have lost their loved ones. In 2011, due to necessity, it was essential for Quam's to expand and organize a second chapter, Quam's Junior Council, enrolling youth 13 through 18 years old in its organization. Additionally, Sister Intisar brings over 40 years of experience serving in private and public sector education and working with at-risk youth. For the past 8 years, Sister Intisar was employed by To Our Children's Future with Health Incorporated as Director Facilitator. Sister Intisar, along with her staff, was responsible for fostering an understanding and skill building with youth to refrain them from risky behaviors such as drugs, alcohol, violence, and sex before marriage. Abstinence message was received yearly by 400 to 800 youth between ages 9 and 18 within religious, private, chartered, and public schools, religious institutions, youth community-based organizations, shelters, and social service agencies. And this is just a short. So without further ado, I'm honored to present to my sister, Sister Intisar. I'm honored to present to you the Sheikh Madison Ahmed Founders Award for Excellent Service, presented to you on this 30th year.
I really want to thank the Lost Economic Development Award. I thank the Cooper Institute, its banquet committee, and its members for restoring such an honor for me. And I'm very pleased to be on panel with such distinguished guests. As the man said, I share this award with other faith groups, private sector, public sector. But my inspiration is Quam's. These young people came together the day of my son's burial. It'll be 10 years, they were coming to 13, and they wanted to have this organization to give back to the community in honor of my son. And I thank you so much. I'm going to do a short commercial, and I did get permission to do it, and I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to introduce you very briefly to some of the young people who came together to inspire me to be a part of Quam's. We got Ishmael. Ishmael, please stand for me. Could you please hold your applause? And we're going to do it very quick. Ishmael was sent to Hajj. He was one of my son's best friends. He was 16 years old, or 17, when we sent him to Hajj. Now he's a father, a husband. He has 3 sons. He has a business, and he's pursuing his degree in a CPA. And his business is a stationery and office supply store, so see Ishmael for some of your business in line. We have Abdul Qadir. Abdul Qadir was another friend of my son's. Him and Ishmael went together, and I went along with them with some of the brothers here from Reading, Alhamdulillah. And Abdul Qadir is executive with Coke. He's a husband, and he has 2 children, and he's also a leader of the Java Scouts, which is Boy Scouts within the Islamic community. We have Kashif. Kashif is back there. He worked with at-risk youth. He's pursuing his, come on, Kashif, stand up. His master's at Cheney in human development, and he works with children at risk. We have Sandus, and she was married as well. Sandus has a family-owned business. He has 2 of his own auto body shops. He's a father, he's a husband, and he has 3 children. And again, he's an entrepreneur. We have Manera Muhammad. Manera is also one of the Quam's recent to the Hajj as well, alhamdulillah. Manera works with special youth at risk, and she's pursuing her degree in special education. Manaza Muhammad, she's an entrepreneur, set up in Manaza. Manaza has her own business, M Squared, and she has the Cover Girl campaign. Jamila Bashir, she went to Hajj this year as well. She works special education, and she has her master's in special education. Latif, we call him spiritual. Latif is the father and married, and also he's in school and he's pursuing a degree in the medical field. Ishmael and here, and Nazir, Rashid, Latif, Sandus, and Nazir, Jamil. There's a few more young people we sent all together to Hajj. Quam's actually sent 7, the other 4 are Quam's members, and we just helped them with some part of their Hajj, alhamdulillah. We'll be 10 years old the 23rd. We have a save the date card. These young people are going to be our honorees and guest speakers at our banquet. We ask you to support them and the efforts that they're making in their spiritual and private lives. Again, I thank Quam's for the inspiration that you give me to go on, and I share this award with the Islamic community. So many of you support everything that I do. MYA, IHF, Mesa Beer Foundation, Bonnie and his family, and Mickey Means. I get so much. I just get so much support. And anyone that I miss, Khadija Alderman, I get support from the community for anything and everything that Quam's do. I thank the parents. We also have a few of our junior council members here with us. We started Junior Council 211, and they're inspiring to do the same things in our senior council. Those that are standing down as our senior council. I'd like to thank Sister Ali for all the support that she gives me. She's there to help me for anything and everything that we do with Quam's. Maria also, she's there with the junior council members. Again, I thank you, I thank Cooper, I thank the Islamic community for this prestigious honor.
Okay, the next award that I'd like to present is a very special award to me. And it's one that we're going to present to, especially to 2 reasons. One, it's the award that's named after my dad. And I'm very honored, proud, humbled, and I want to express just the sentiment of this love for our staff and chef. I need, speaker for a lot of reasons. David's son, he is a scholar in his own right. He is a new father, and we have. So we have 2 things to share about. We have a gift for him. We have a special gift. Space. I gotta call somebody. Anyway, so okay. So we'll start off double. And I'm gonna read his short bio, and just so everyone can know what he means to me, what he means to real life, what he means to our city, what it means for a person to make a contribution by a word, okay, by a gesture, and for Allah to bless someone to see that manifest in a human being. So Son Abdullah is a full-time faculty member specializing in Islamic law, theology, and Hadith science at Zaytuna College in Berkeley, California. And we like to tease him now and tell him when Berkeley, California, I got soft. Used to be rugged from Philly, now you saw California in the sun. He's a lifelong student of the Islamic tradition. Born to Muslim parents, he began a serious study of Islam in his early teens. He attended Temple University for 2 years from 1995 to 1997, prior to pursuing studies that culminated in a 4-year collegiate license, Ijaza Olia is called, from the prestigious Qaafilah University in Fas, Morocco. And I would like to add, and Brother Brother can correct me if I'm wrong, but he also holds the distinction of being the first graduate from the college, Western graduate or American graduate from Qaafilah in Fas. Okay? One of the institutions that's steeped in tradition in Morocco. He holds a BA from the Qaafilah University's Faculty of Islamic Law and a master's degree in ethics and social theory from the Graduate Theological Union of Berkeley, California. He is pursuing his PhD in cultural and historical studies at GTU as one of the institution's presidential scholars. So Abdullah he's a teacher. He has students all over the world. He's written, and I want to mention some of his works. Al-Ghazali of Muhammad, translated by Sayyid Abdullah, A Return to Purity and Creed, Attributes of God, Muslim Funeral Guide, Preserving the Freedom of Faith, Re-Evaluating the Politics of Compulsion, and Scholarly Consensus Between Use and Misuse. Okay, so tonight we want to present the Sheikh Nafid Mohammed Award for Academic Excellence to Sayyid Abdullah. This award strives to honor individuals who embody the spirit of seeking personal excellence, moral excellence, spiritual excellence through academic endeavors. So, Sayyid Abdullah. So I'm sure you want to say something, but I'm going to take the time because you're sitting in the keynote speaker. But hold on. Now, we have a special gift. About 10 weeks ago, 13 weeks ago, Sayyid Abdullah was blessed with, in addition to his family, he has his beautiful daughter, Fatima, Maryam, and Allah bless him with his son, Muhammad. So for myself and Mr. Anas, we're going to give you an autograph Quran, and we are going to make dua and ask the Muslims that are here tonight, and Allah bless your progeny and make him of the people who are of the dunya and deen, give him the best of this world, the best of the next world, and make him of the people of the earth. Okay? Now, the final award, you know how they say, you save the best for last. Okay? You save the best for last. And this is a special award to me because this brother, God put him in my life. And someone was telling me in the hallway earlier that nothing happens by chance. Okay? So there was never a time that I thought in my life that my life path would cross with Kenny Gamble's path. I've known about him. This is just some of his songs. Some of them are pretty good, but and but he's a person that has had a lot of positive influence in the community because he's a positive brother. On me personally, because he's a positive brother. He's a man who speaks directly. He's a man that speaks clearly. He's a man of action. And, you know, I think that for our community it's important to recognize what the law has blessed this brother to be able to do. Because Brother Lukman is from South Philly. Then the law took him on a journey where he had his success in the world of entertainment, legendary status. And then he came back to his neighborhood, starting with the house that he grew up in, and decided that I'm going to pull somebody else up. And the Lord has blessed him to pull a lot of people up. And I have to say this because over the years, it's easy to talk. It's easy to say all kinds of things. You know, this brother not doing this right, that brother not doing that right. But I have watched brother of mine work tirelessly with his team. He has a wonderful team of individuals with him, men and women, starting with his wife, Sister Fatima. And together they are transforming an area of the city that many intellectuals said could never be transformed. You forget about that part of Philly, just forget about it. Right? So Brother LeBron is a native of South Philly. His career has been one of giving back to the city where he was born and raised. You can attest to this. He first gained the public's attention through his impressive music career, but equally important to him are his efforts in public service. Mr. Gamble is widely known for having written, produced, recorded, and published more than 3,000 songs, performed by artists such as the Jackson 5, Teddy Pendergrass, Billy Paul, Lou Rawls, and many others. A great deal of music he produced carried a social theme, and what was described as a message in the music. In 1974 and in 1989, he received Grammy Awards for writing Me and Mrs. Jones, and if you don't know me by now, respectively. He founded several record companies, including Philly International Records, of which he is CEO and chairman of the board. In 1995, he and his writing partner Leon Huff were inducted into the National Academy of Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 1999, the pair was inducted into the Grammys Lifetime Achievement Hall of Fame, and in 2008 to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He also helped found the Philadelphia Music Foundation, which established the Walk of Fame on South Broad Street. Mr. Gamble was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in public service from Cheney University in 2005, and an honorary doctorate degree of music from Berklee College of Music in 2010. That's a heck of a distinction. As founder and chairman of Universal Companies, one of the largest African-American developers of real estate in Philadelphia, Kenneth Gamble used his success to begin a neighborhood revitalization effort. In 1990, he made the ultimate commitment to the city of brotherly love. He and his wife Fatima gave up their quiet and luxurious suburban lifestyle to move back to a blighted South Central Philadelphia neighborhood to take a hands-on approach to the rebuilding process that he initiated in the 80s. 2 decades later, Universal has improved the quality of life of thousands of children and families residing in historically disenfranchised communities. To date, Universal has developed over 1,500 units of affordable market rate and commercial real estate. Through the management of 5 public charter schools, Universal's team of over 350 staff members educate more than 3,000 students daily while providing supportive services to countless more in areas of home ownership, financial literacy, workforce development, and business training. Kenneth Gamble is a great Philadelphia success story. Coming from humble beginnings to achieve international fame is truly a consideration for success. For a man who is known worldwide for making hit records, he has turned rebuilding his neighborhood where he grew up the biggest hit of my life. Now, out of everything, they left something out. You also built a park. A park with swings and kids and stuff. And I just want to say, before I bring my brother up, that I love you, man. And I thank the Lord for you. And I ask the Lord to reward you your due reward, brother. And thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. And without further ado, this award is in honor of one of our beloved imams, Imam Rashid. He's not here tonight because Imam Rashid is battling cancer. And he's one of our elders. And his spirit, Luqman has that kind of spirit. Imam Luqman is a brother who went, Imam Rashid is an imam that went to work 35 years, was never late and never took a day off. That's the kind of spirit he had. And I remember when we thought about this award, I thought about something that Brother Luqman said about working like ants. In order to do what we need to do, we need to be like the ants. Aggressive like the ants. I don't know if you remember that, brother. Right? So, you know, it's just so many things that could be said. But we would be remiss if we did not take time out to really to say, as I mentioned, a heartfelt thank you, and to present the Imam Rashid Awad Abdullah Lifetime Achievement Award to my brother, Luqman Abdullah.
I'm also glad to be here tonight. I'm very thankful. Very thankful to be here and see all of your smiling faces. It's just wonderful to see how many young people that we have in our community. And it brought to mind that someone mentioned to me about the world 100 years ago. What was the world like 100 years ago? Now, some people might think that 100 years is a lot, but I'm almost 70. So it's not that long, it's only 30 years. So it's not that long. But 100 years ago, you didn't have these cell phones. Changed the whole world. If I can remember correctly, 100 years ago, they had the Model T Ford. And there was only like 144 miles of paved roads in the whole country 100 years ago. Gasoline was something like 8 cents a gallon. They can go on and on and on. So what will this world be like 100 years from now? And I do believe that what it becomes will be on the backs of these young people, these young brothers and sisters who are here today. They will make the world for tomorrow. I'd like to accept this award and give recognition to, first of all, Brother Rahim Islam. Rahim, would you stand up? Give Rahim a big round of applause, please. Thank you, Rahim. Yeah, Rahim is a hard worker, and we wouldn't be where we are today if it hadn't been for the teamwork that we have. And especially, I would like for you to, I'm accepting this award on behalf of all of our team. For my lovely wife, Sister Fatima. Fatima, stand up. Don't see you, please. She's trying to play basketball. I know you, sister. I know you. I'd like to, I just want to take a couple more minutes. I'd just like to give honor and recognition to Imam Hassan, here at the Majlis Shura. Another hard worker. You know? And I just want to say these couple of things that I'm going to do. I'm like anyone. Once I get a microphone, I say, no. But, you know, you can go back 30, 40 years. Let's say 50 years. Go back 50 years. I was 19, 50. whole world trying to prove themselves some kind of way. And they're all they talk about is, man, one day we're going to have an African American mayor. We've had 3 African American mayors so far. Okay? 3. And all of them have done 8 years apiece, so that's 24 years. I mean, that's 100 years, I'm telling you. We said, we want to get the president of city council. We done had 3 black presidents of city council. Police chiefs, African American. Say it's gonna get better. They don't beat up our people no more because we got a black police chief. Got a fire commissioner, black fire commissioner. Let me speed it up. District attorney black. Sheriff is black. City council, God knows how many city council people you got. Congressman, and probably some more, but you even got the president of the United States. So I leave you brothers and sisters with this. And this is what I've learned. And I really appreciate our relationship, Manuel, because it really taught me a lesson. I learned something from this experience. And I share this with you because we are very, very fortunate that we're even living on this earth at the same time. We could have been back in Abraham Lincoln's time. Or could be 14, a lot of people trying to go back 1,400 years ago and trying to push it into 2013. Now you know that's not gonna work. Some people way ahead of themselves. You gotta live for right now. Sometimes people want stuff, but they don't really need it. So I say this to you, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna keep working as hard as I can until these brothers wash me down. Be gentle with me, brothers. All right? Wash me down and put on my favorite oils to put me in that grave, because that's how serious this thing is. This is not a joke, living in this dimension, this particular time. So it's up to you what you do with your life and with this great opportunity that we have. Some people just won't listen. So you gotta get away from it. If they don't listen, get on away from it. Leave them alone. Because I go with this slogan. Oh, one more thing I wrote down. The body count. And what made me think of this is my dear sister, over the last 10 years, I think it's been like 7,000 or 10,000 murders in Philadelphia. 90% of those murders were African Americans, young people. 10,000. That's more than all the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. So you gotta wake up. We all. I'm just so happy that Allah allowed me to wake up. Because it is a wonderful experience when you can open your eyes and really see, not with your low beams on, but put your high beams on. So you can really see what's going on around you and find out what you gotta do. So brothers and sisters, I just say this to you. Thank you, everyone. But remember, accept your own people. Accept your own people. Get your own places. Get your own places. Do for yourself. Stop depending on other people to do for you what you can do for yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, so I don't know, we'll bring up the second going now. Oh, okay. All right, so Jazakallah khair, and the non-distinguished part of the council is coming up.
Non-distinguished part of the family. Kids will be coming around, so you can get as many pledges you have, and they'll put it in the envelope. Next, I want to introduce Ustad Abdullah bin Hamid Ali. He's the keynote speaker. Imam Anwar already gave his background. We know how distinguished his academic background is. I've known Ustad Abdullah since I was a wee little boy, all 12 years old. Took many classes with him when he was still in Philadelphia. I was sad to see him go. I'm happy to see him back today to speak to us back in his hometown. So, without further ado, I present Ustad Abdullah bin Hamid Ali.
Alhamdulillah, Ameen. Salatu wassalamu ala khatamin al-anbiya wal mursalin. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا، اكرمنا ولا تهنا، واعطنا ولا تحرمنا، واثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وارض عنا. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العظيم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah. I guess this the first thing to begin with is usual is to begin by expressing gratitude. I want to first express my gratitude to Qaafilah Incorporated and the leadership of Sheikh Anwar Muhammad, brother Anas Muhammad, also Principal Su'ad Islam, for inviting me here this weekend and for this event, very special event. Really makes me happy to be a guest at home once again. You know, it's been a long time. I've been away for about 5 years, and often people ask me, what will it take to have you come to our town and speak? And I usually tell them, it's an invitation. That's it. And so, of course, I feel, a little, somewhat upset that, that I wasn't invited earlier, by the community. But of course, no love is lost. Thought of that. I'd like to thank Sheikh Anwar and everyone else also for honoring me in the way that they have. I didn't expect any type of reward. As a matter of fact, I was sitting there waiting, thinking that he would say, "Let out the pop," and all of a sudden I heard my name. And I was really caught off guard by that. And so, of course, that definitely does endear me more to people. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in his hadith that the human being has been disposed to love those who show goodness to them. And so he also encouraged to have exchange gifts, exchange love. I mean that through the exchange of gifts, it increases the love between us. I also would like to thank Qaafilah, which is formerly the International Muslim Brotherhood, for its constant effort to emphasize the importance of education in the Muslim community. All throughout my life, since I first started to come to Qaafilah, or the International Muslim Brotherhood at that time, it's always been the same message. You need education, education, education. And that, of course, has become an important part of me and my personality. I probably wouldn't expect that I would say this, but I also would like to thank Masjid al-Mujahideen and under the leadership of Imam Asim Abdul Rashid, because many people don't know is that from my youth, that I spent a lot of time at Masjid al-Mujahideen, and I helped to, and the time that I spent there helped to make me into the man that I am today as well. That the constant sort of emphasis on the importance not only of Islamic knowledge but activism as well. Brotherhood, the simplicity of Islam. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you ever heard this. Imam Azam, one time I remember I was having a conversation with Dr. Clyde Blankenship, and he said that he felt that the way that the brothers at Masjid al-Mujahideen practice Islam and approach the hadith of the Prophet and the Sunnah of the Prophet is more in line with the way that the Sahaba actually approach it, meaning that they focus on simplicity. For instance, the Sahaba, when the Prophet told them to do something, they didn't ask questions like, well, do you mean it's compulsory or just recommended? You follow me? That wasn't something that they asked, that they would ask, or if they said, don't do that, was it, you mean it's haram or is it just disliked? That was, and this is what I found in my experience at Masjid al-Mujahideen. Thirdly, I like to express my gratitude to the Brother Abdul Haq and also Brother Rahim Islam, along with the United Muslim Movement, because of the support, financial support that I got from UMM, that I was able to go to Morocco and to complete my ijazah in Sharia as well. So there is a lot of love to go around. And then lastly, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. And I would say, especially for you brothers right now, because you know what time it is. It's like 8:45, and I heard that the game starts at 8:30. And you're still here. Big sacrifice, right? Big sacrifice on your part. I don't get too proud of it. At any rate, what I'd like to also speak about is some reflections, and I guess I would say ways that I come to reflect upon and look at my life, and at each stage of my life. I don't feel that I am at where I need to be or want to be in my life, but when I reflect on my development, I come to start to live life as on the basis of invitations. And I spoke about invitations before, and understand what I mean by this. When I was born in Philadelphia, and then not long after that, and of course I have to thank my mom. My mom is here today too, so I definitely have to thank my mother, Regina Heidi, for bringing me into this world. And so, but I was born in Philadelphia, and then the family moved immediately to Chicago, and I grew up in Chicago until I was about 10, going on 11. We moved back to Philadelphia. While I was in Chicago, I started to break dance. I was in a break dance group, and so when we moved, I was uprooted. I didn't have anybody to sort of dance with anymore. So when we moved to Philadelphia, I just still wanted to break dance. And I remember one particular day I was out in the middle of the street. I had my card for it, and I just started break dancing. I didn't know anybody on the block. I just started to break dance. And at the end of the block, I just saw this guy walking up. And he came up and he saw me and he said, hey man, we got a breakdance group. You want to join my breakdance group? And I said, yeah. Okay, so he invited me, so I followed him. And so we started to go around the community. We would choose battles, pick battles with different breakdance groups. And one particular group was on 59th and Carpenter Street. There's some non-Muslims and some Muslims in this particular group. We came there to battle them. The mother of the house, Sister Hanima Al-Khatib, had heard that I was a Muslim, even though I was on the other group side. And so she invited me to come into her house on that particular day. And when I came into the house, I saw, they were making salat. And I had, my father, of course, seeing him coming up, my father didn't really impose a lot of these things on us when we were coming up in our house, but I saw that, and it really, it woke something up inside of me, and I had to develop a desire to come to their house on a regular basis. And eventually I was kicked out of my own breakdance group. I would say I was accused of trading sides, because I used to go there so much. And I said, okay, well, if you say so, then I guess so. And so that started my sort of journey of learning about Islam. In this particular house, the house where I first saw real Quran. Arabic. When I first saw the words, the letters in the Arabic language, I was really amazed. I just couldn't believe that it actually said something. And that really really inspired me to want to try to learn more. And and there are many different stages like this in my life, and I reflect back on them. Even when I became better in Arabic and people started to encourage me to go overseas and study, I never thought about I'm going to go overseas and study. I just felt like, yeah, I like Arabic, it's like a hobby. but people used to encourage me. So when I take that now today as an invitation as well, to which day I went over to Morocco and I came back home. And when I came back home, again, when I arrived, my attitude was, well, before I left, I used to be a security guard. So when I get home, I can go back to the hospital and just still be a security guard. That's what my plan was. I wasn't planning to come home and try to start a masjid or start a movement or group or anything like that. I said, just working with what's available. But when I got here, Sheikh Anwar had invited me, to come and teach at Qaafilah Institute at the time. And for that year, I taught. Towards the end of that year, another man, Allah have mercy on him, Brother Yazid, Sister Taiba's father, Allah have mercy on him, he actually came to me and he said that there's an opening at the prison in Chester, the imam there. I really didn't care too much about working in the prison at that time, but he brought me his application, or it took me so long to get to the application. I filled out the application, and I went and I started to work in the prison that following year, and it turned out to be one of the best moments, the most transformative periods of my life to go there, because my attitude about people I've been to prison prior to that wasn't a good attitude, I would say. And a lot of Muslims will have this problem, I would say. My attitude is that, well, listen, people are ignorant, I don't want to deal with culture, they're not really real Muslims, right? Muslims who are in prison. This is prevalent. We have this sort of clash. Some of our brothers are in the prison, so the people have this attitude that haven't been in prison before. But when I went into the prison, I learned so much, not only about those people who were there, but about myself. And I became a deeply spiritual person from that moment. And this is where I started to write and read more. I was teaching a whole lot, and I started a website and started to post things and started to answer questions that people had about Islam. And towards my 5th year, I really felt like the job was no longer a challenge, and I started to look elsewhere. I started to think, well, maybe it's time to change. And during this period, I was thinking about the Qadr Foundation in the Muslim world. I was thinking about maybe going there, trying to get a job there. And Dr. Sherman Jackson, had a connection. So I called him, and I wanted to ask him about this. He didn't answer his phone. But a couple of days went by as I was really trying to look for something else to do. And then I got this email from Imam Zayd Shakir, who said that he was inviting me to come to California to teach in Zaytuna. And I was really kind of caught off guard by that as well. So, but the idea is that an invitation was made to me, and I accepted the invitation. I hear it said sometimes that I sort of abandoned Philadelphia. So I didn't abandon Philadelphia, I was invited. I was invited where people thought I had value. And I think it's important for us to remember that we have to place value not only on your educators, but on education in general. And if we don't, then we can continue to live within this cycle of decadence. And we see what's happening. I look at the people in this room, and I think that I know almost everybody in this room. But we know, there are a lot of Muslims in the city today, and it's not really looking too good. It's not really looking too good. And, so those are some things to begin that we should definitely reflect upon. That education, the word education, comes from a Latin word which actually means to rear, to upbring, to raise up. And in the Arabic language, the word that corresponds to that and was the traditional word for education is the word tarbiyah. And the word tarbiyah is the same word that many of the linguists say is the root of the word Rabb, Lord. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the master, He is the owner, the one who is responsible for correcting the creation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the nourisher, He is the sustainer. And so tarbiyah itself is an education itself. The idea is elevating people, to bring them up, to raise them up. And many of the things that you learn about education as opposed to schooling, and this is one thing I think is important for us to make a distinction about. because we don't often make this distinction, that education and schooling is not necessarily the same thing. They're not necessarily the same thing. That we go to school, and many of us have the attitude to say, well, okay, that's it. I finished high school, I'm no longer receiving an education, or I no longer have an obligation to get more education. That schooling and that attitude is reflected also amongst Muslims who may have been Muslim for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, 10 years. Often we become Muslim and then we take the class on fiqh or Qaafilah or whatever it may be, and at that first year, then all of a sudden, okay, I know my Islam. I studied it back that first year I became Muslim. Right? I know I'm supposed to pray 5 prayers. I know I'm supposed to fast Ramadan. And that's as far as Islam goes. But education is something more than that. Education is not only about taking information that is exponential in nature, that information sort of learning a bunch of facts, but it's also an experiential aspect of education. That there are things we learn through experience. And so one of the things I learned from experience through education is that I don't know, that the word is saying I don't know is extremely important. It's like has to become the best friend of the most educated people. Like once Imam Malik ibn Anas was visited by some people, and they asked him, it's a very famous story, they sat down and they asked him 40 questions. And he didn't respond to 30 of them. And they said, well, what are we supposed to do? Go back to our people and tell them that Imam Malik didn't know this or that or that? He said, that's right. Go back and you tell them that Imam Malik said he didn't know. Period. And so that's why he said also, that the shield of the scholar is to say, I don't know. I don't know is your shield. And so as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the famous Sahabi, would say that that whoever knows something, let him say it. And whoever doesn't know anything, then let him say, Allah knows best. Because it is actually a part of knowledge. It is a sign of knowledge for you when you don't know something to say, I don't know. And so one of the problems with the relationship between the masters and commoners and leadership is that often the pressure from the masters is that if you're a sheikh or you're an imam, is that you have to know everything. Right? And that pressure sometimes on part of us being leaders or imams leads us to try to give answers to everything. Even if we may not really fully understand the circumstances surrounding the question in itself. What I also learn is that from education too, and especially when we think of religious education, is that in matters of dispute, that basically evidence doesn't always constitute the same thing to every person. Because often, we get into these discussions or debates or arguments. What's your dalil? What's your evidence? And sometimes the evidence may not. It is evidence, but maybe it's not the evidence that you come to accept. And there are many different lessons, of course, that come from education. Education has also taught me that you usually learn more about knowledge and life after your schooling than you did when you went to school. And I have students here in the class, here in the room, and they'll tell you, I remember he told me this, and then later on he told me that. Why? Because certain things, even though I had graduated from the university, certain things they still weren't really solid. That when you get a degree, it doesn't mean you're a scholar. It means you now have gotten the tools. Now you know how to become a scholar. Even PhD, same thing. That you learn how to become a scholar through schooling. That's what it teaches us. And so, and there's a story back when I graduated, when I was in Morocco, my last year. I remember the students got together, they had this gathering, and one of the students stood up on a pedestal and he announced to the other students there in the hall, he says, هنيئا لكم أنتم العلماء. He said, congratulations, you're all now scholars. And so, alhamdulillah, they asked me to speak after him. And so I got up there and I had to be a little bit of a wet blanket, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately for many people, because there can be people get delusional. That many people go to school for one thing, and then once they go to get a job, they find out that all that stuff I learned in school didn't really mean anything. You know, that I'm not even using most of it. But at any rate, I've learned as well that through education and through especially public speaking, that one should never underestimate the smallest thing that you say to a crowd, especially to the youth. Because I have a few examples, even from my own youth, that very simple things, that I have people come to me sometimes, they'll say, well, yeah, I really like you said this, and I'll say to myself, I really wasn't focusing on that part of my talk, that really wasn't the message, but for that particular person, that was the message that person was intended to get. And back to Sheikh Nasser, when he was alive, he was one of my teachers as well. All three of them, the brothers, the mother, the father, I studied with them. And so sometimes we would sit in the office and have these conversations in the same way I would have the conversation with Sheikh Anwar in the office years ago. I remember a lot of time in that office. And I remember one day he said to me something very simple, but it has an enormous impact on my life. He said to me, he said, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. Now, very simple thing, right? He said, so profound about that, of course. A lot of people will say that. But for a young 16-year-old boy, a young man growing, that meant a whole heck of a lot. You see, one time I was at one of Sheikh Ahmad's khutbahs, and he said in the khutbah, and he probably doesn't remember this because he was focusing on another topic. And I'm young at this time. And so he said that if any time you feel jealous of someone, that you should say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, that you should seek refuge from Allah from shaitan. And I took that lesson. I started to apply that lesson in my life from that very day. And it made, of course, it made it easy for me to kind of hang out with the older brothers, but not so easy to hang out with people my age around that time, because of the problems they're dealing with other issues as well. Ali Abdul Alim, I don't know if he's here tonight. I used to hang out with him and Hanif and Sharif, and I remember one time we were all together and they were talking, like, I don't know if they were talking about me or just at me or whatever, I was listening. And so Ali had said, yeah, when you're around like 19 years old, I think you know everything. And that really meant a whole lot to me. And I started to be very self-conscious about that. So you can't underestimate the smallest and slightest little lesson. As a matter of fact, there's a saying in the Arabic language, sort of a proverb, that says, that learning while one is young is like engraving something on the stone. And it doesn't only mean that young people have better memories than old people, but it also means that young people, when they learn things, it's hard to make them forget those things that they learned when they're young. It's hard to make them forget those things. So that's why schooling, especially at the young age, is extremely important. Another thing that Sheikh Anwar had taught me, this is one of my Arabic classes, Brother Dawood, and everybody else out there probably remember this. There was a poem by Abu Aswad al-Du'ali. Sheikh Anwar, he probably doesn't remember this either. يا أيها المعلم غيره يا أيها الرجل معلم غيره حتى لنفسك كان ذا تعليم. That, oh, you man, oh, you person trying to teach other than himself, if only that advice was for you. ابدأ بنفسك فانهى عن غيرها فإذا انتهت عنه فأنت حكيم. That begin with yourself and forbid it from its own perversion. And when that stops, then you will be wise.
فهناك يسمع ما تقول ويقتفى بالرأي منك وينفع تعليمه. And then once that happens, people will listen to what you say and follow your views, and your instruction to them will benefit them. فلا تنهى عن خلق وتأتي مثله عار عليك إذا فعلت عظيمه. So don't order another person. Why don't forbid a person from doing one thing and then you yourself don't avoid it? Say, what a great shame that is upon you if you do so. So these great lessons. So we start talking about the difference between schooling and education. There's a big difference between the two. A big difference between the two. Any educational model is rooted in the civilizational view of the country or the people who are trying to promote that education. That every education has to have a philosophy. Every education has to have a curriculum. Every form of education has to have its sort of pedagogy. And that's to say that the goals have to be clear. That there has to be content. And there also has to be methods utilized to impart that knowledge to the students. And so we have a society, in our society, the civilizational goals of America, the West today, are to make a lot of money. That's it. That you go to school for what? Get a job, right? Make a lot of money. Live the American dream. And that itself is never sufficient in the Muslim tradition. Never suffice. That rather our objective in our educational tradition is for us to form the entire human being, the person. That this is why before they called the different branches of knowledge, sciences, they called them disciplines. Not discipline necessarily the idea of hitting somebody, but to teach you discipline, self-discipline. That if you were called a disciple, like those who follow Jesus are called his disciples. There are those who follow the Prophet Muhammad are called his Sahaba, his companions, not his students, his companions. And they themselves learned, right, through his character, how he dealt with people, so on and so forth. So that's important to keep in mind when we pursue any form of education. And there are a lot of different things here, of course I won't get the opportunity to go through because of the restriction of time. But at any rate, I wanted to read to you, well, prior to that, understanding the Islamic tradition, it was always important for students to be introduced to what they call the 10 introductory elements of learning. So anytime you learn a particular field of science, you're introduced to these things. What's the definition? What's the goal of the science? What's the benefit that comes from it? Well, how does it relate to the other sciences? Right? These are, who is the founder of the science? What are the issues discussed in those sciences? That those are always important. And one of the big problems with education and in our context is that students often don't know why they're learning things. They often don't know why they're learning things. It's why so many people fail. They don't know what's the aim, what's the point of this. See, and we have in Philadelphia right now, we hear that about 44 schools are going to close down. Right? Like 37 high schools and other types of schools. We shouldn't necessarily lament that. Why? Because prior to mandatory education in the West, people taught their children at home. If a father had a particular trade, he taught that trade to his or her, usually his son. Right? That mandatory education didn't start until the 19th century, believe it or not. And when the government gets its hand into education or into many different things, it can be easily corrupted. And so Islam is supported the concept of what we call the system of the Qaafilah, the endowments, whereas there were common Muslims with wealth, they themselves would set up schools. And through that particular process, they were able to maintain a type of educational independence where the government would not interfere or could not interfere in the curriculum and the approach of the teachers and those people. So often we complain about how Islam should be free. And I agree that education in Islam should be free. But at the same time, you have to understand that even when we say it's free, it's never free. Why is it easy? Why is it in the Muslim world Why in the Muslim world, you go there and education's free? Because somebody's paying the salary of the teacher, the government or someone else. The salaries are being paid. And when you have a situation like this, it becomes our obligation to give out ourselves, to sacrifice a bit more. Education is key in everything that we do. And so the endowment is extremely important. I mean, think about the major universities. They operate on the basis of endowment. So like, for instance, no school can operate only on tuition. It's not possible. It's not, especially when it's cheap as it is at Hoover. No way in the world. I'm actually one of the members of the board of directors at one particular school in the Bay Area. And we have low tuition as well. And every year we have to have two fundraisers so that we can ensure that the teachers get paid, right? And we try not to raise the tuition so much, but no school, if it's really long-term going to be successful, can rely only on tuition. And this is why we find in the colleges. Do you know that Harvard University, their endowment is like $31 billion? $31 billion in their endowment. Princeton University is like $16.5 billion. Stanford is like $17 billion, their endowment. See, and of course, all of this will be possible or easier for us if we as Muslims can overcome the culture, the sort of anti-education culture, that we have to send our children to college. We have to encourage them not only to learn white collar jobs, but even the blue collar jobs. Learn professions. They have a better livelihood. And with that money, we don't just simply want to celebrate their success of getting the job. We want to say, okay, now, alhamdulillah, you made it, and the community needs you now. Now the community needs you now. So we get, for instance, the answer to Brother Man's call to do for self. Let's stop, blaming all of our brothers from overseas for not giving us money, right? If we collectively, right, educate ourselves and we increase our own income, and we do it with dignity, we can provide for the services that we need. We can do that. And I wanted to end, and there's a lot more I really wanted to say, but I wanted to end with by reading a couple of passages from two different books. One particular book is Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington. And for those who know Booker T. Washington, that after Frederick Douglass, he became the most famous African American in America. And his particular view was that instead of placing so much energy into the suffrage, the efforts of suffrage, of black suffrage, civil rights, and things like that, but it's better for us to focus on trades and focus on agriculture and becoming people who make ourselves indispensable. That through being indispensable, people will eventually recognize that, and they'll come to us and ask for our advice because, who can build better than us? Who can farm better than us? You follow me? It was coming from slavery, right? And so, and of course, this particular view was looked at as being accommodationist to whites because it put them off the hook and say, well, we're just going to focus on ourselves. And so, in W.E.B. Du Bois, of course, is one of his gripes with him, is that they know that it's important as well, that the sort of the liberal arts and others are extremely important. But one particular quote, this particular quote from, that I wanted to read to you from Booker T's book, he said, no race can prosper till it learns that there is as much dignity in tilling a field as in writing a poem. That's because he had a problem with those who seemed like they just simply wanted to go after the white collar sort of, liberal arts and become refined in Greek education and things like that. We felt that these were a sign of people being lazy and other things like that. And this is his particular view. Not everyone would agree with it. And he goes on to say, it is at the bottom of life we must begin, and not at the top. Nor should we permit our grievances to overshadow our opportunities. We should not allow our grievances to overshadow our opportunities. Yeah, there are a lot of things bad about America and bad about our experiences, but there are also a lot of good things about America. A lot of good things about our experiences as well. to not allow our weaknesses to overshadow our opportunity. And then the last, on the other hand, we find of W.E.B. Du Bois. And this particular quote is a bit longer, but I do feel like I need to read it to you. And this is his view on the issue of education. He says, teach workers to work. A wise saying, wise when applied to German boys and American girls, wiser when said of Negro boys, for they have less knowledge of working and none to teach them. Teach thinkers to think. A needed knowledge in a day of loose and careless logic, and they whose lot is bravest must have the carefulest training to think aright. So basically he said, listen, do this, do that. Both types of education are important. Then he goes on to say, if these things are so, how foolish to ask what is the best education for 1 or 7 or 60 million souls? Shall we teach them trades or train them in liberal arts? Neither and both. Teach the workers to work and the thinkers to think. Make carpenters of carpenters and philosophers of philosophers, and make fops of fools. Nor can we pause here. We are training not isolated men, but a living group of men. Nay, a group within a group. And the final product of our training must be neither a psychologist nor a brick mason, but a man. But a man. And to make men, we must have ideals, broad, pure, and inspiring ends of living, not sordid money-getting. Not sordid money-getting, not apples of gold. The worker must work for the glory of his handiwork, not simply for pay. The thinker must think for truth, not for fame. And all this is gained only by human strife and longing, by ceaseless training and education, by founding right on righteousness, and truth on the unhampered search for truth, by founding the common school on the university, and the industrial school on the common school, and weaving thus a system, not a distortion, and bringing a birth, not an abortion. So I think there really is not anything more to say, but understanding that our deen is all about education. Iqra, the very first word revealed to the prophets by himself. Proclaim, read what? Iqra, proclaim or recite the name of God. There are different interpretations or translations. And I prefer the one that says it means recite as opposed to read. Because the Prophet ﷺ never learned to read, according to the majority of the scholars. So even though Allah said read, right, it really means proclaim or recite. Recite what? The name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because education is not only about book learning and learning a bunch of facts. It's about connecting ourselves, or reconnecting ourselves with our Creator. So with that, inshallah, hopefully there's some benefit that comes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
At this time, we're going to give us a few moments. We're going to announce our silent auction winners. You have to find the silent auction host. I think you heard us. Is everybody having a good time enjoying themselves? Alhamdulillah. Everybody enjoyed themselves, enjoyed the speakers, enjoyed the poetry, enjoyed the MC. Alhamdulillah, thank you. The night is drawing to an end, but prior to leaving, we will give the winners for the auction. We also have a closing dua, and then we'll send it on your way. We did start a little behind, but we are running pretty close to the schedule. We have the auction winners.
prizes that they won, that they bid on. Rhonda Street, Amina Abdul Rahman, Muslina Abdul Rahman, Salima Abdullah, Rahman, Halima Abdul Ghani, Taliba, Naeem Bashir, Jerry, Sabria Dempsey, Lukman Akbar, Rabia, and Jareel Bab, and excuse me if I pronounced anybody's name incorrectly.
Congratulations to all the winners. I guess I lost. Next time I'll bid more than $1. Brother Seth also has DVDs for sale that contain more of his poetry. So if you want to hear some of the great poetry, some more of the great poetry that you heard tonight, he does have a few copies on sale. I don't believe he bought enough for the packed house, so get them while they're hot because they're going to cool off pretty soon. We have a closing dua before we leave by one of our young sisters from Qaafilah Institute.
Subhanallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Amen.
Also, one last thing before you leave. Brother Muhammad ibn Hashim Jabir is in the house with us. I believe he's sitting to my left. He has a book that he authored, Color Me Muslim, Growing Up Muslim on the American Soil. He has it for sale. You can get it in the lobby, and also you can speak to him over to my left at the front table, my far left. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Everybody get home safely. May Allah reward all those who gave monetarily for the Qaafilah Institute. They really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.